Okay, we're recording.
Hi.
Hi.
So how have you been since our last session? Thoughts, memories?
Yeah, it's been, I feel like a lot has happened. Um, I wanted to tell you this story about being with my family. So, have you, first of all, have you ever heard of the term let's squash the beef? Like resolving conflict?
Yeah.
Oh,
So
no.
yeah, you're free. Hey,
Okay.
Susanna, do we need to be in two screens? Like
Yeah, mine is in two screens. Is yours not?
how do you get that?
So it's up at the top at the right
Okay, exit full screen.
where it
Gallery.
says speaker view, and then there's like, if you keep clicking on it,
Okay, I have gallery view and exit full screen.
keep clicking where it says gallery view.
Okay, I got it.
Okay. All right.
That's weird though. I always want to be in front of you instead, but I guess is this good?
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So you froze as soon as you said something about being with your parents. So
Okay. Can you hear me now? Okay. So have you ever heard of the term let's squash the beef? Like,
absolutely not.
okay. So it's like, means like let's get rid of a conflict,
Okay.
basically.
A
And
beef.
so I was telling my family I want to make T-shirts about how our family deals with conflict. And my moms would say, let's squash the beef. My dads would say, what beef? I need coffee. And mine would be, I need to unpack and rehash the beef. So, and we came up with ones for every person in my family. But when I was home, the morning I was home, I was upset about something and I was crying and I was talking about it to my mom. And then my dad comes in and she's like, we don't need to talk about it. And I was like, why are you trying to get me to not talk about it? And then she's like, I just don't want you to have to talk about it if it's going to upset you. And I was like, but I can decide if I want to talk about it or not. And then my dad is like walking behind us and he's like, Susanna, I got this new espresso machine. Do you want some? All played out.
Oh
Exactly.
my. And that, but he didn't make that up just because of the. That's
He
amazing.
didn't even know about the t-shirts.
Oh geez. Oh, that's hysterical.
I was
Let's
like,
get some coffee.
yeah, it was so funny.
Uh,
Anyway, I rehashed the beef some more and then we, it resolved.
no. You're a little bit free. Yeah, you're going in and out, Susanna. Like it's staccato. It's like you're frozen right now.
Okay, so I think what I should do is go into a different room.
Do you notice you're frozen? Okay. Okay. Why don't you want to hit pause for a second?
Yeah.
No, you're good.
Okay.
Um, so last time when we got together and we did your treatment plan, the touchstone event was your mom's postpartum depression. With your knowledge that it was only you that she had the depression with.
Yeah.
And that part of that was she said, I wasn't sad, I just cried a lot.
Which she said when I was home as well.
Right? And she, yeah. So when you bring up that memory, what image represents the worst part? What when you bring up that image, what represents the worst part?
I have so this is like a created memory, but this image that I have of her like sitting on the edge of a bed, just with her head in her hands, crying.
What words go best with that picture that express a negative belief about yourself now?
I think I'm too much.
When you bring up that picture, what would you prefer to believe about yourself now instead?
I'm fine as I am.
When you think of that picture, how true do those words, I'm fine as I am, feel to you now on a scale of 1 to 7, where 1 feels completely false and 7 feels completely true?
A 2.
When you bring up that picture and those words, I'm too much, what emotion do you feel now?
Can you say that one more time? Sorry.
When you bring up that picture and those words, I am too much, what emotion do you feel now?
Fear.
On a scale of 0 to 10, where 0 is no disturbance or neutral, and 10 is the highest disturbance that you can imagine, how disturbing does that memory feel to you now?
5.
Where do you feel it in your body?
It's like in my chest and right here in my throat.
I'd like you to bring up that picture and those words, I am too much. Notice where you feel it in your body and follow my fingers. What are you noticing now?
I got chills down my neck, which is usually makes me feel like calmer.
Notice that. What are you noticing now?
I was just thinking about the AIP.
Good with that. What are you noticing now?
I started feeling, I didn't realize I was going to cry when I'm talking about this, but like feelings of compassion and worry for you. And then I started just like thinking of my friend's house when I was looking at the blinds behind you, my friend in middle school and high school.
Okay. We'll notice that. What are you noticing now?
I was just thinking about her mom, and they had this like facade of being the perfect family, and their house was really nice, but there's this air, this like oppressive air in the house. And one time I was staying with them, and I saw her mom be in this mood that controlled everybody in the house because she didn't have ice cream. So I was thinking about that.
Notice that. What are you noticing now?
I want to be a mom really badly, and I'm so scared. Like, really scared of doing shit like that to my children.
Mm-hmm. What is that? What are you noticing now?
When I was home, my mom said to me, she wanted me to tell her how she has traumatized me. Um, and I told her that I don't think that's a question that a lot of children get asked, especially if it's like really subtle attachment stuff. And I guess was just realizing that like I'm the reason that we can have these conversations because I've driven our relationship there. So I was just noticing that.
What are you noticing now?
I think it's just that is like at times I felt like I'm too much, but then if I could see down the road like where it would lead, there's a lot more openness in our relationship now.
Mm-hmm. Notice that. What are you noticing now?
I don't want to live near them, but I'm really afraid and sad about them getting older, and I feel guilty about that, like not wanting to be in Utah.
Mm. Look at that. What are you noticing now?
I went back to the original memory and just had this feeling like I don't want to be stuck there.
Notice that. What are you noticing now?
I think that like for a while I was like had the usual, or my family's defense mechanisms are like to say that everything's fine and good, and I was like that for a long time, and then I kind of like went in the other extreme to be like things are not fine, and like a lot of anger and grief, and like I've been stuck there now. So like one extreme to the other, and wanting some balance of like the good parts of life too, instead of just like getting stuck in the grief.
are you noticing now?
My internet connection was like a little wonky there, and so it was choppy. That's what I was noticing.
Can you go back to the original memory? What are you noticing?
It feels like a little blurry, but I also feel more emotion around it. Like I feel more into like real sadness.
Notice that. What are you noticing?
There's so these images of like water rushing up and wanting to like be saved, I guess, by my mom from like the flooding.
Notice that. What are you noticing?
I guess just feeling a little like overwhelmed.
Mm-hmm. Notice that.
Can you keep going because it got choppy again? Thank you.
What are you noticing?
I was remembering this couples therapist that Casey and I went to, who was this like really special man, probably like in his 60s, and there was a time where like a lot came up for me in a session, and I took the next day off of work, and because I just cried all day long, and when we went back to see him, he was like, "That's so good that you did that," and it was like, it's so good that you let yourself do that, and that was like meant so much to me.
Mm-hmm. Notice that. What are you noticing?
It's like this kind of tension of like, I love my mom so much, and I still feel this sense that at certain times I was too much for her.
Notice that. What are you noticing
I was just remembering when I was little, I was like in a bathroom stall, and I was thinking about how I loved my mom, but I wasn't sure if I loved my dad.
now? What are you noticing
Just that I've been feeling like kind of numb lately, and like I don't have access to that like childhood, that like magic or spark about life that I know is there, and I can't feel it very often or like at all for months at a time.
now? Notice that. What are you noticing
I was just noticing that when I was a kid, I was really good at creating that feeling, or like I remember making like a witch's brew with my friend in my backyard, and how it felt to be. I remember the bucket that we used, and like the flowers that we kind of like smashed in there.
now? So it was there for you. Yeah. Notice that. What are you noticing?
I was just thinking about my nephew and worrying about him. Like, I don't want to. I don't want us to squash that in him. And like, he was being kind of naughty. Like, he's 3.5, and he was being kind of naughty with me and saying like penis and nipple, just to kind of see what the reaction would be. But I was just feeling like adults ruin everything. Like, that was the feeling that I had.
Notice that. What are you noticing in your body right now? What are you noticing?
I feel like a little expansive in my chest and kind of like hunched over. And I feel like a little airy, like not totally disconnected, but a little bit like head in the clouds feeling.
Go with that. What are you noticing now?
I was getting frustrated at the internet connection.
Okay. When you go back to the original memory, what do you notice?
This happens to me frequently, where it's like I feel like I can't access it. It's like when I try to think of it, it like floats away.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, let's go with that.
You know, it's interesting when you started the in processing, I was able to kind of like get the memory again. And then I saw my mom in this created memory, like finish crying and then get up and walk out of the room, and then to go be with the three of us. And in this, when that happened, it's like she was done crying.
Mm-hmm. Notice that. What are you noticing now?
So when I was at the training, I kind of did something similar where I like rearranged a memory, and then Tori, who's Deb's son's girlfriend, was like, is that something your family does? And then so the indication was like I was kind of doing an answer to cope with it, and then I was just wondering if I think I'm just confused. Is it an answer, or is it actually like reintegrating?
No, I'm noticing that would be, and what happens next. And to me, it's a sense of my mom came, and I'm wondering too if there's, yeah. So my sense is what's happened next when you have a sense. My mom got up from crying at some point and came to us, and the part of am I too much, and her being able to be that. Those are my senses.
Yeah, I guess, and then it went into this memory. It's not a memory. It's like because of a home video where my sisters were dancing and I was just a baby, and my mom is really tired, but she's also happy.
Mm-hmm. Notice that. What are you noticing?
I was just noticing, is it really true that someone being tired means that you're too much?
Notice that. What are you noticing?
Just like when you're little, you feel like everything is because of you, mm-hmm. and you're not aware of all of the other factors that influence a person.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. When you go back to the original memory, on a scale of 0, where 0 is little or no disturbance and 10 is the most you can imagine, where does it feel like it's at now?
Maybe like a 2.5.
What do you think keeps it at 2?
What is it when I started?
A 2? Wait. It was a 5.
A 2.5. I think just there's still some stuff there about my mom being sad, and there's part of her that I think is because of, okay, I've got something that just popped up. I remember like going shopping with her. And of course, I loved the mall when I was in middle school, and she hated it. And now I hate the mall. And there's like almost, I would rather be almost anywhere besides the mall. But at the time, I remember seeing her. She was in the waiting room just kind of closing her eyes, and I was like, she doesn't want to be here, and I thought it was me. So it's that sense of like, when I would sense her distance emotionally, there's like part of her that I wanted that wasn't there.
Notice that. What are you noticing?
I'm just feeling like, of course, she didn't want to be in the mall with her daughter who was like demanding brand name clothing.
Notice that. What are you noticing now?
It's choppy again. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just go with it. What are you noticing now?
It's interesting. It came back to that friend who was there at the beginning, and that I was realizing that she always had like that clothing, and that I think I was jealous, but also kind of disdainful of it at the same time. Like, this is the family shows care by keeping everyone outfitted really well, and you know.
What are you noticing now?
That what came up at home when I was just home is that this is more than one out breath, but I'm really afraid of bed bugs because I had experience with them in a hotel once, where I got totally covered in bites, and it was really painful. And so sometimes it rises to like phobia level for me if I think there's a chance that I could get them. And when I went home, my dad just kind of offhand was like, "Oh, a couple weeks ago when we were in southern Utah, I got these bites on my stomach in a hotel." And I was like, "What the fuck?" And then it was this sense of like, this is supposed to be safe here. I'm supposed to be able to relax at home, and now I can't. And then that night I had a dream. So when I was in high school, I had lice, and it wouldn't go away. It was like, didn't respond to shampoos. And my mom and I would wake up early every morning and strip all my sheets and do laundry, and then she would comb through my hair. And I remember how frustrating it was for her, and she was really tired and grossed out, and I felt like it was me. And then I remembered our family went to Florida on a vacation, and I still had lice because it wouldn't go away. and I had to sleep on a cot, and everyone was kind of like, ew, like don't be around us. And I remember my family was on a boat. I think we went to the Everglades, and my mom was like, I was like, can I put my head on your lap? And she said no. And I remember feeling really sad. And then, so anyway, when I was home after this bed bug thing, I had this dream that night that I said, I was yelling at my parents, and I said, the reason that I won't let you be close to me right now is because when I had lice, you wouldn't let me be close to you. And so I have all these associations. That's why it's a phobia, I think, because it's so painful. Like I get cut off from people.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so like when the bed bug stuff came up, I was like, if I get bed bugs, I won't be able to move to Vermont. My relationship, like it just goes in this direction that's like really intense. And so that's what my mom wanted to know about. She was like, what other ways have she said traumatized. I think she meant really hurt you that she wasn't aware of. So, sorry, that was a lot to say. What I was noticing is that sense of feeling like I'm exhausting her, or I'm like grossing her out, or just like those sensations of that time.
Yeah, too much, and that's probably how it relates to the original memory.
Yeah.
Let's notice that.
I was just remembering that when I was little, sometimes I would put a sign on my bed that said, I'm dead, don't talk to me. And I wanted people to come in and fawn over me. Like I wanted them to come in and be like, oh no, what's wrong?
Notice that. What are you noticing now?
I just was remembering kind of when I started to police myself around exercise. That's what I was noticing.
Mm-hmm. Okay, go with that. When you go back to the original memory, what are you noticing?
It's a thing where I can't get it. I think I have a lot of buried anger and fear about my anger.
Notice that. What are you noticing?
I'm embarrassed to talk about this, but I just had this friend visiting, and she's a new friend that I really like a lot. And I had these like intrusive thoughts about like, what if I hurt her? And like, I don't know. I just have a lot of shame with that kind of thing, and wrestling with it, like not wanting to experience that, and then wondering where is it coming from? Is there something wrong with me? Why does that happen? And just spiraling like.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Notice that. What are you noticing?
It's just thinking like, why do our brains do this?
Yeah. It seemed to me like there was an anxiousness around if I am me, if there's something I do, I lose the attachment and really care about it.
Can you say that one time?
It seems around it, it just feels like if there's something about me that might distance myself from her. So
Yeah,
yeah.
that's definitely it. There's something about me that is gross or
Mm.
off-putting, or yeah.
Notice that. What are you noticing?
I just, I guess I'm noticing that as I'm doing all this hard work emotionally, even though there's been times when it feels like things are getting worse with my family, this time at home, I was like, things are getting better with my family. Like, actually, not in terms of like the absence of conflict, but in our relationships are more meaningful, including with my sister. And like this summer, no, last summer, I was doing some processing around her, and she was really hurt that I wanted to talk about the past, and now we're just in this different place.
Notice that. What are you noticing
I was checking in with my body, and I noticed that I feel like this gross hulking giant, which is like very much not accurate.
now? Notice that. What are you noticing now?
I just got a little dizzy, like kind of this feeling.
Go with that. What are you noticing
Um, not a lot.
now? When you mentioned the sense of anger, noticing anger, the thought you might have a lot of anger, What do you notice in your body when you bring that up?
It's like, so what it will be is like feelings of like wanting to physically express anger, but then the immediate reaction is like shutting it down. Like, that is not okay. There's something wrong with that.
Notice that. What are you noticing now?
Again, it's not really any change.
When you go back to the original memory, what do you notice?
I notice some feeling, there's like anger with the memory, but I don't want it to be there.
Notice it. Let's go with that.
Feel like a little woozy and like anger and then fear, and then yeah, like a lot of fear in my body, making me not want to go there, and then like not even want to talk, I guess.
Notice that. Go with it. What are you noticing now?
A lot of resistance, like I don't want to be angry at my mom. I can't. I don't want to.
Notice that.
Started like clenching my fists and feeling tension here.
What is that? What are you noticing now?
I was thinking about how when my dad's mom died, he had a lot of anger towards her that he never expressed to her, and when she died, he like couldn't be near her.
Notice that.
I just was having the thought, it's not going to kill her if you're mad at her. Like this, I have this fear that it will like do something really bad to her if I'm mad at her.
Feel the breath. What are you noticing
My body is like feeling mad. It's like my fists are clenching and I'm like pushing them together, and I never feel like this, like hardly ever, and it freaks me out if I do.
now? Go with that. Say it. You can do that. Just let it be here. Yeah. Just let it be here. What are you noticing now?
It's starting to wane, but I feel really like strong.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't feel out of control or evil, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
It just feel like there's energy in my body.
Feel the breath. What are you noticing now?
I noticed that I felt like more relaxed. Like there's like my shoulders feel better. But then I went back to the original memory and I still felt like it was like my mom was like this innocent person and helpless, and I'm like this Hulk, like with like bad or evil energy or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Your needs are not hokey. Notice that. What are you noticing?
I was just wondering if I could believe that.
Mm-hmm. Would you believe it for somebody else?
Oh yeah.
Notice that. What are you noticing?
I just zoned out, and then I don't know if you saw, but I like kind of like startled, like when you are almost gonna fall asleep. Like I wasn't falling asleep, but it was just like my body kind of did that thing.
What are you noticing?
I was just kind of remembering like all moments from past sessions that you and I have had.
When you go back to the original memory on a scale of 0 to 10, with 0 is no disturbance and 10 is the most you can imagine, what does it feel like now?
Feels like maybe like a 1.5, and it's weird because I feel like more empowered around it, and I know that that has to do with that physical energy that I feel.
What are you noticing now?
I was thinking about how when we finished, I was going to ask you if we could take a little break for like 5 minutes.
All right. Well, we are getting near the end.
Mm-hmm.
Time together. A lot of hard work. And what is something that you feel like you have learned about yourself or for yourself today?
Well, first of all, I am always surprised over and over again by EMDR. Like, it's like I forget what happens and how powerful it is, and it's not like, I don't know, I just think it's interesting that I'm like, oh yeah, we're gonna do EMDR today, whatever, and then like all this stuff happens. I think like not being afraid of anger, that my fear is really paired with it, but that doesn't mean, I kind of realize that is my conditioned response instead of like that is true.
Mm-hmm.
And that when I actually let it into my body, I feel more like real, in a sense.
Yeah.
And wanting to explore that more, like write about it, or I think actually the fear of it is what keeps it squashed down, and then that's why I have these weird thoughts, like these fearful thoughts, like what if I did this? What if I did this? But then when I actually let myself feel it, it wasn't like that.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. So the processing we've done may continue. After the session, you may not notice new insights, thoughts, memories, or dreams. So notice what you're experiencing. Put it in memories and lies logs and use resources to help manage any disturbance. And hopefully you can continue working on this material with your therapist, the EMDR person, or I don't know how you weave that into neuro.
I broke up with her because she didn't do EMDR. Well, we weren't doing EMDR.
The EMDR therapist wasn't doing EMDR. Yeah. You think you'll find another one, or you want to stay with the neuro?
So I'm going to stay with neuro right now because it's twice a week, and we might go to 3 times a week so I can get it all in before the spring if I'm moving. So it's just a lot.
Yeah, I'd love to hear how that works.
Yeah.
All right, you want to take a break? We'll be back.
Thank you, Gail. You're so great. This was so helpful.
Not my internal dialogue, but thank you. I was hopefully trying to get us help move you. The energy was moving. It's get out of the way, Gail. Energy's moving. That's what
everything was timed. It was so helpful.
All right, we'll see you in a few minutes.
Okay.